Hey, welcome. Today, we're diving into something that affects literally every single one of us, our relationships. We're going to break down a blueprint that can take a relationship from just, surviving to actually thriving. So let's just kick things off with a huge question. Are some people just lucky in love? Did they win some kind of cosmic lottery? Or is there actually a set of skills, a kind of blueprint, that any of us can learn to build something amazing? To really get a feel for what's at stake here, I want you to meet Rachel and Steve. They're at a Sunday lunch with friends, and all the little cracks they'd been papering over for years, well, they start to show. The frustration, the resentment, it all just spills out. And then Steve says something that lays bare just how broken things had become. And, Rachel and Steve's story, it's not some isolated incident. Not at all. It's really just a personal snapshot of a much, much wider problem.
And when I say wider, I mean the scale of this is pretty staggering. Just look at this number. In a huge chunk of the developed world, the divorce rate is hovering right around 40%. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That's nearly half of all marriages ending.
And if you think that's high, well, take a look at couples who live together but aren't married. The numbers get even starker. The breakup rate shoots up to a massive 60 to 70%. So this isn't a fringe issue. We're talking about something that affects the majority of long-term relationships. The impact goes way beyond emotional pain, too. This number, £51 billion, that's the cost of family breakdown to UK taxpayers. Every single year. To put that in perspective, that's almost half of what it costs to run the entire National Health Service. It's a massive economic hit. But honestly, the most profound cost might be to our actual health. This warning from the Mental Health Foundation is it's jaw-dropping. The lack of quality connection is literally shortening our lives, more than obesity, more than not exercising. So this isn't just about our happiness, this is about our fundamental well-being.
Okay, so the problem is huge. We get that. And a huge problem needs a real solution, not just a bunch of flimsy tips. I love this analogy. We need to build a better fence at the top of the cliff, not just have more ambulances waiting at the bottom. And that fence? Well, it's built on a solid foundation of 3 core skills.
And researchers, like Dr. Joanne Davila, actually have a term for this foundation. They call it romantic competence. Now, I know it sounds a little academic, but what it really means is that having a great relationship isn't about luck or magic. It's a learnable ability to navigate the whole messy, wonderful process. And this competence is built on these 3 pillars. I want you to think of them like the operating system for your relationship. They're what make everything else run smoothly. And they're the foundation because they directly tackle the 3 biggest challenges every single couple faces. So let's break them down. First step, we've got insight. This is all about awareness. It's about looking inward and understanding what makes you tick, what your history is, what you really need. But it's also about looking outward and seeing your partner for who they actually are, not just the version of them you've created in your head. Next is mutuality, and this one is a total game changer. It's this huge mental shift from my needs to our needs. It's the core understanding that there are 2 people in this thing, and both of your needs matter, equally, and they have to be factored into just about every decision you make. And finally, there's emotion regulation. Look, every relationship has challenging moments. It's going to happen. This is the skill that allows you to manage your feelings when things get heated. It lets you stay calm, keep things in perspective, and not just fly off the handle, so you can make clear-headed decisions instead of reactive ones. All right, so that's the theory. But what does this operating system actually look like in the real world? How do you actually use it? Well, it all boils down to a few simple daily habits. This is where the rubber meets the road. Those 3 big skills we just talked about, they're expressed through 4 really fundamental habits. You can see how they're all linked here. That skill of insight, for instance, is what fuels your ability to be curious and to ask questions instead of just assuming. So let's take a closer look at each of these. Habit number 1 is be curious, not critical. This is insight in action. Instead of pointing fingers when there's a problem, you get curious. You ask questions. You actually invest time trying to understand how your partner is wired so you can play to each other's strengths instead of just getting hung up on the differences. Habit 2, ask, don't assume, also flows right out of that insight skill. I mean, think about how many arguments start from unspoken expectations. We just assume our partner should know what we want. This habit is about having the courage to actually talk openly about things, about respect,
roles, responsibilities, instead of expecting them to be a mind reader.
Then there's habit 3, be careful, not crushing. This is where emotion regulation becomes absolutely critical. Our natural instinct in a fight is to attack, right? This habit is about reprogramming that response. It's about deciding ahead of time that you're going to fight the problem, not each other. It's about protecting the relationship even when you're angry. And finally, connect before you correct. This is the key practice of mutuality. It is so easy to fall into a pattern of constantly offering constructive feedback. This habit is about deliberately building warmth and appreciation, making sure your partner feels valued, not just managed. Because people don't stay where they're constantly criticized. They stay where they feel seen and appreciated. So these habits, they're not just nice to haves. The stakes are so much higher than that. They can literally be the difference between life and death. And to really understand that, we have to go back to Rachel and Steve.
A couple of weeks after that horrible lunch, as they were starting to try and heal, Rachel shared this. She admitted she had been in such a low, dark place emotionally that she had actually thought about ending her own life. It's just a chilling reminder that without a new path forward, this story could have ended in absolute tragedy.
And that right there is why this blueprint matters so much. The skills and habits we've talked about aren't just for having fewer arguments. They are life-saving tools. They build a bridge from a place of incredible risk to a place of safety, and eventually to a place of thriving. Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. We all invest time, energy, and money into the things we say we value, our careers, our homes, our health. So, what would happen if we all started investing in our most important connections with that same level of intention? What would our world even look like then?